Hello, friends and followers. Well, here's a tale about the Harvey Wells transmitter I've been working on. Of course, the challenge now has been interfacing the HP23 alpha power supply, or HP23A, to the Harvey Wells. So, not so hard to do. You just have to follow the pins on the connectors. That's the pin on the HP power supply. There's the pins on the Harvey Wells, and then kind of go take a peek. So I ended up translating all that to this little table here, wire connection diagram. So I've been at this a few hours today, and this is what I came up with. This was like the beginning of it, but the real truth table, I guess, would be this diagram here, which this side is the Heathkit power supply side. And this side's the Harvey Wells side. So really looking at the needs of the Harvey Wells, pin 1 is your B plus pin, and you can adjust this voltage with the terminal strip selections, but yeah, they're saying it wants 425 volts. Filament voltage at 6.3 AC volts at 5 amps. So anyway, they have a switch here in the Harvey Wells for power, and it's on pins 4 and 5. So I simply brought that down to the Heathkit, where they had a switch in a common for power on the 11 pin at pin 9 and 10. And what else? So they have two different grounds on the Heathkit power supply. There's one ground for the filaments, and that's just right off the transformer, so you can ground that. And they have like a system ground, I guess, called ground here. So I tried to follow Heathkit's color code. I did mostly, but I didn't for some wires. Like the filament wire for the 6 volts is a white wire, and I used white because it was a really thick wire for the current. There's going to be at least 5 amps going through that wire, so it made sense to use a thick wire for that. And I'll show you what I mean. So here's the plug on the Harvey Wells side, and you can see this white wire is a thick wire for the 6.3 volts filament, and the other wire that's thick is a black wire, which is the ground wire. And so I have these wires all grounded, the black and the yellow wire. And this little plug here, it just follows this truth table here. So I simply wired it. After this little diagram was made, I just followed my diagram and wired the plug. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm anxious to try it. The other end is the end for the HP23, and that's all put together already, but it's been wired to match this side here. So yep, I guess I'm going to try this out and see if it works. So yeah, I brought the bias in. Even though the bias isn't used, I brought the green wire in anyway to the Harvey Wells, even though it's not used. I tried to use all the wires I could. This bias is fixed at minus 130 on the Heathkit and pin 1, so we don't need that. We do need ground for the filaments. That's off the transformer. I can show you that on the schematic, actually. Let's take a look at that on the schematic. Let's see. So yeah, the filaments here, as you can see, the filaments, if I could zoom out here a bit. Okay, yeah, so here's the filaments here. So 6.3, 6.3, 12 across here. You just ground one of these. So you could ground the green, but grounding, let's see, hopefully I did this right. You can just ground one of these. So they are saying here that for filaments, which one's grounded? Brown is grounded, filament, 6 volt, 6 foot. Green, yellow. I guess it doesn't matter which one I ground. I think they ground this one. Yeah, filament common. So they ground this one here, pin 2. So they'll ground this to ground. And then that will be 6.3 volts, and that will be 6.3 volts there too. Actually, I wonder if you could run these in phase. I guess you can. It'd be interesting to try to phase these together, but I don't think that would work. At any rate, that's how I connected it. And let's take a peek here. So the spirit of that transmitter is that pins 4 and 5 are the power button on the front of it. And then they have a standby transmit switch here. So those come out on pins 4 and 5 and 3 and 6 on the octal connector, which is here. And so what I did was I figured that in standby, I don't want to have any B+ voltage going into the Harvey Wells. So pin 1 is where the B+ goes in. I simply take the B+ in through here, this orange wire, which is 350 volts. The orange wire comes out like this, goes into here orange. There's a switch on the Harvey Wells. Back on pin 3, and it hits pin 1, and it goes into the wells. So I can actually then do the standby transmit and turn off the transmitter for now. That's good enough. These two wires are for the power switch, and those will invoke the primary of the transformer right away. And that's about it. We have a 6.3 volts filament, 5 amps coming in. That's grounded to the filament ground there, right there in the black wire. The other ground is yellow wire here, which is the system ground on pin 7. And so, yep, I'm going to try this out the way it is and see how it works out. So I just want to put the shell on here, and we'll connect it up and see how it goes. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day.